Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this convening today. My name is Shrestha, and I represent the organization International Forum for Environment, Sustainability and Technology, in short, iForest. And on behalf of iForest, it is my pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to this significant and timely gathering on the topic today, which is just energy transition in Maharashtra to support green growth and green jobs. We would also like to sincerely thank the Department of Environment and Climate Change for the valuable guidance and support that the department has, extended to us for this convening. As a brief introduction of iForest, I would just like to say that we recognize ourselves very much as a regional organization, and we are headquartered in the national capital. This is because our work is very much rooted in the states across India, and we strongly believe that the states are the ground of action. And that's what also brings us to our engagement in Maharashtra. Now, as I briefly outlined the day's agenda, I would like to emphasize that we are taking today's convening as an opportunity for meaningful interactions with various stakeholders, all of whom are important, we believe, for steering the course of just energy transition in the state in the coming years. We have a very diverse group of speakers and panelists joining us today from various departments and agencies of the government of Maharashtra, industry, distinguished public figures, experts from eminent organizations, entrepreneurs, among others. Therefore, we really look forward to enriching discussions through all our sessions today. Today's day is organized around 4 key themes, apart from the inaugural session that we will have. And it all looks into the opportunities of a green growth as we discussed a just energy transition. The 4 sessions will be the repurposing and repowering of mining land and old power plants for green growth. The second one is focused on green transition of various industrial sectors, given Maharashtra's significance as one of the industrial capitals of this country. The third is specifically focused on the auto sector, which is a leading sector in the state. And the fourth and final session will be focused on green jobs and green skills, which remains the basis for a just energy transition dialogue. Now, before we start the event, I would like to take a moment to outline a few house rules that will follow throughout the day for a smooth and productive deliberation. First, I would request all of you to kindly switch off your phones or keep it in a silent mode. And secondly, we have a very tight schedule today. Therefore, I would request all our moderating various sessions today to please stick to the duration of the panel so that everyone gets a chance to speak and we have enough time to engage with the very vibrant audience that we have today. With that, now I would request our guests who are already on the dais to please inaugurate the event. As I just introduced them, very well-known figures. Mr. Jamshed Godrej, welcome, sir, who is the chairman and managing director of Godrej & Boyce. Mr. Praveen C. Darade, Principal Secretary, Department of Environment and Climate Change, Government of Maharashtra, and Mr. Chandrabhushan, who is the President and CEO of iForest. Thank you, everyone, and a very warm welcome. We'll start with the presentation on the report that we are releasing today which is titled Just Energy Transition in Maharashtra, an Opportunity for Green Growth and Green Jobs. And I will request Mr. Chandrabhushan to give a presentation on the report, but also on the broader context of the subject. Thank you very much.
Good morning, and thank you, Shrestha, for such a wonderful introduction of all of us. Mr. Darade, Mr. Godrej, distinguished guests, friends, and colleagues, I'm so happy that you all are here for this very important meeting because the very foundation of our work is in the realms of opportunity, not in the realms of threat. And I'll explain to you the approach that we have adopted in terms of solving climate crisis. And just energy transition is that opportunity that we think will take this country, probably the only country in the world which will decarbonize before it develops, before we call ourselves as a developed country. This will keep happening. So this is the temperature spiral of India from 1901 till 2018. We are in 2024. 2023 was already the hottest year on record globally. The data for India is not here. But if you can see this spiral, you will find that since 2011, we have runaway temperature increase in our country. Other than monsoon season, there is no season in which temperature has not increased by more than 2 degrees. Mind you, 2 degrees in rest of the 3 seasons. Monsoon is the only season because of massive amount of water that falls on the subcontinent that our temperature is moderated. Otherwise, winters, the temperature is as high as 3 degrees from 1901 to 1920 average. So we are essentially talking about an existential crisis. When I landed in Mumbai today, the first news was that the temperature in Jan was 36 degrees. So I called my friends in Pune at IITM and asked them, why is it that you have such high temperature in Mumbai? And they told me that there has been a very clear shift in the way winds are arriving in Mumbai. It used to be dry and cold wind from north during winters. Now it is hot and humid wind from the south, which is coming to Mumbai. So there's a very clear pattern why Mumbai temperature is increasing. So what is happening today is a lot of things that we would call freak is becoming normal. That's what climate change is. Freak becoming normal is climate change. And that freak, more and more freak becoming more and more normal is what is going to basically create huge disruptions in our society. Now, and you can see that through the number of extreme weather events that has hit this country since 1950, since independence. In the generation of my father, there was 27 extreme weather events in a decade, 1950 to 1960s. In my generation, it became about 100. In my son's generation, it is 200. So in 3 generations, basically, the number of extreme weather events in India has increased by 10 times. And I believe that this is the beginning because the temperature has only increased by about 1.5, 1.6 degrees of Indian subcontinent. Think what would happen if we are hitting 2 degrees and 2.5 degrees. And it has impact on economy. It is not only about environment. I very frankly believe that climate change is an economic issue. We think it in terms of environmental issue, but it is an economic issue because the cause of climate change is economic. And the solution of climate change is economic. So it's an economic issue. We are one of the country with the highest loss because of climate change is India, after China. Ministry of Finance came out with a report in 2020 saying that we will need about $1 trillion in next 10 years as climate adaptation, which will be about 5% of our GDP. So this is an economic issue. There's no more an environmental issue. And therefore, we now have to think, how do we solve this climate change? Now we have 3 targets. One is Paris Agreement target of 1.5 degrees C, which will be a stretch. In fact, I am not very confident that we can meet 1.5, But if we meet 2 degrees, it will be real achievement. But Paris Agreement target of 1.5 degree, Government of India commitment of net zero by 2070, and then there is another target which people do not talk about, is that India wants to stop import of all fossil fuel by 2047. Now we have 3 targets. And meeting these targets, just the Paris Agreement target, will be the biggest transformation of economic system in human history in shortest time, in 3 decades. No economic transition has happened. Has happened, or we have experience of in such a short period of time. Even automobile transition from horse cart to automobile happened in about 50, 60 years, complete transition. Still we have horse carts. So this is going to be the most rapid transition that we are talking about. And therefore, it will create winners and losers. It's very clear. Few people will win, many will lose. And therefore, a just transition becomes crucial to minimize disruption. Now, here it is a definitional issue. We all should have the same vocabulary on what just transition means. Over the last 2 years, iForest has actually engaged with wide-ranging stakeholders to come back to a concrete definition of what just transition means for India. We started with a report we did in 2020 on defining. Last year, we did another report on a framework for India, what kind of policies and plans and institutional mechanism will be required. And in January, we have just done a report on how do you calculate the cost of just transition. Now, over the 2.5 years that we have worked on defining just transition, this is what our definition is. It has, as I said, I started by saying, we view it as an opportunity. And this transition has to be looked at as an opportunity in terms of that a just transition will require building us a new green economy. Number 2, it will also require us to improve social, economic, and environmental conditions of areas which are going to be affected. And please understand, this transformation will affect some area more than other. Okay. And that is also the outcome and result of our Maharashtra study. It will have to support workers and communities which will be affected by fossil fuel phase down. We have to enhance energy security, and this process has to be inclusive. So we have this 5 outcome-based definition of just transition. But ultimately, people will agree to this transition if it is better than before. It is as simple as that. Today, if we go to a mining block in Jharkhand and ask them to close a coal mine, the first question that community will ask is, what is it that I am going to get in return? Main kyun band karunga? Why will I close a coal mine if I am not getting anything in return? So this transition will be successful if it is better than before. With this definition, we came out with 6 pillars of just transition. Okay. The most important pillar is we will have to restructure the economy. As I said, this will be the most rapid transformation that we will witness. Second is we will have to repurpose land and infrastructure. For building new green economy, you don't need to build new. We will also have to start thinking about repurposing what we have. Reskilling and skilling of workforce. We'll have to have resilience in community. Taxes will become very important. We will have to make sure that government revenue is protected and enhanced. And we have to do it in better way than what we did in the past, both from social and environmental perspective. So these are the 2 definitional issues that I wanted to present to you. The third point that I want to present to you is that actually just transition is not so much a national issue as it is a subnational issue. Because action is going to take place at the subnational level. Think about the constitutional division of power in this country, between union government and the state government. Labor is a state subject. Land is a state subject. Industry is a state subject. In fact, everything that you look at from constitutional perspective, you find that the state have far more role to play in this transformation than the national government. And that is what we also see across the world. Subnational action is what is happening across the world on just transition. There are 50 plus subnational plans, largely in Europe, but also in US, Canada, South Africa, New Zealand, where states, subnational entities are taking lead on just transition. And that is the reason why iForest decided that on just transition, we are going to work at the state level. And therefore, we are here in Maharashtra with our first assessment of what just transition will look like in the state. Some basic facts: we have updated the GHG profile of the state till 21-22. Maharashtra is about 10% of India's GHG emission. It has grown at about 4% in the last decade every year. Per capita emission is about 2.5 tons compared to Indian average of about 2.2 tons. So Maharashtra has a higher per capita GHG emission than the rest of the country. The emission intensity of the economy has more or less stabilized in Maharashtra. It is about 150 tons CO2 emission per crore of gross state domestic product. India average is about 210. So Maharashtra's economy is about 30% more efficient than the rest of the country. So some basic information on the state's GHG profile. 81% of the emission comes from the energy sector. 80% is from energy. And the 5 top emitting sector, excluding agriculture, forestry, and waste, is thermal power plant, road transport, iron and steel, cement, and brick. These are the 5 top emitting. These 5 together will be about 2/3 of the total emission. The thermal power plant itself is about 40% of the emission. Now, this is the just transition landscape for the state. You have coal transition. Maharashtra is the 7th largest coal producing state in the country. You have thermal power transition. Maharashtra is the biggest thermal power fleet in the country. You have oil and gas transition, which is basically you have 2 refineries. There's large marketing and distribution system and road transport. And then you have transition of factories. And these are the major factory sector: metal, cement and brick, automobile, fertilizer, and boilers. In fact, Maharashtra has the largest number of fossil fuel-based boilers in the country. And most of them are small boilers. From food industry to textile industry, to pharma, you have small boilers based on biomass and fossil fuel, which is there. So this is the broad transition landscape where reduction in greenhouse gas will have impact. Energy transition will have impact. Let's start with coal. About 50% of all coal mines in Maharashtra are unprofitable. In fact, most of the coal mines, about 2/3 of the coal mine will close because of unprofitability and resource exhaustion just by 2030. So the coal mines are not very profitable. The profit of Western Coalfield Limited is from select few big mines. All small underground mines are unprofitable. Thermal power plant, about 25% of capacity is likely to be decommissioned in next 10 years because they are old, they are inefficient, they will not have FGDs. So because of techno-economic and environmental factor, you will have about 1/4 of the thermal fleet which will also retire. But even today, Maharashtra has retired about 6 gigawatt of thermal capacity in last 6 to 7 years. So older units are being retired in Maharashtra, and then in next 10 years, you will have about 1/4 of the fleet that will also retire. You can see district by district. These are the 3 coal mining districts where you can see how many closed and unprofitable mines are there. Now, these are the key challenges. You have here a Chandrapur, Nagpur, Yavatmal, which is the hotspot of coal transition, both from thermal power and coal mines. And the interesting part is, coal areas are not getting renewable energy. So if you map the renewable energy growth area of Maharashtra and the coal area, you very clearly see that Nagpur, Gondia, Chandrapur, Yavatmal have hardly any renewable energy. Renewable energy is basically growing Satara, Solapur, Pune, this area. So there's a clear disparity and disconnect where renewable is growing and where coal has to close. Now that's a problem. People in Nagpur and Yavatmal will agree to coal closure only if they have something in return. So there is this is a key challenge that we found. Factory sector, Maharashtra has the third largest number of factories from Annual Survey of Industry, which was published last in 2020-21 data that we have. And what we did was to actually categorize factory based on their direct dependence on fossil fuel and energy intensity. And we have done it into three categories: high impact, moderate impact, and low impact category. And 41% of the factories are in high impact and moderate. About 28% is in high impact category. They account for about 40% or 44% of total output. So these are big factories. High impact factory in iron and steel, cement, automobile, fertilizer, refined petroleum products. They are about 5,500 factories who are highly impacted. They engage about 500,000 formal workers. About 1/3 of the all factory workers are employed by them. Moderate category is a small category, not that big. It has about 2,500 factories and about 2 million formal workers. And then rest are low impact, which are in food sector, electronic, and other sectors. So this is the just transition impact as far as factories are concerned. About 40% factories and about 1 million formal workers. Okay, if you take mining, factories, refineries, then there are 1 million formal workers who fall under this category out of 2 million formal workers. Informal worker in India is actually 3 times the formal worker. But we could not calculate that number. So about 1 million, 50% of the formal worker. Brick sector itself has about 250,000 informal worker, by the way. That will also be impacted. So this is from workforce perspective, about half of the workforce, formal workforce, involved in mining, manufacturing, excluding construction, will be impacted. And there are 14 districts that we have mapped as transition hotspot. Okay. Of course, the 2 major clusters are Chandrapur, Nagpur, Yavatmal, and Pune. But these are the 14 districts who have from refinery to fertilizer to foundry to power plant. These are the 14 districts which are the transition hotspot. Of course, these 2, Chandrapur, Nagpur, and Yavatmal, and Pune are the hotspot cluster, because here we will start experiencing impact within this decade. Let me end by putting few points we think is important from the state government's perspective. I think state needs to start thinking about a very clear policy on just transition with at least 4 or 5 very clear components. One is economic diversification in impacted areas, repurposing of land and infrastructure. How do you repurpose that land? Land is owned by coal companies. Okay. Skilling and human resource development, and then augmenting social and physical infrastructure in the affected areas. We think there is need for 2 plan for 2 cluster, which is immediately required, which is Chandrapur, Nagpur, Yavatmal, and Pune. These are immediate cluster where regional plans would be needed. For coal region, the state needs to have a very specific policy for green energy and green industry if we want less disruption in these areas. So supporting the development of green energy and green industries will be important. There are 20,000 hectares of land with coal companies right now, which are either closed or unprofitable and likely to close soon. 20,000 hectares of land, the big land available with coal companies. And they can be repurposed, and where state government and coal companies will have to work together. Repurposing of retired thermal power plant is another big opportunity. Maharashtra has just come out with its hydrogen policy. Thermal power plants will make an excellent place to set up hydrogen plants. They have all the infrastructure for electricity. So repurposing of retired thermal power plant. Considering the kind of boiler that the state has, electric boiler fits perfectly. The state already has moved to biomass boiler, but transition to boiler technology, especially in MSME sector, will be important. And therefore, we are also recommending a dedicated just transition fund at the state level for MSMEs, especially for auto component manufacturers and for small boilers. So this is our 7th agenda. Reskilling, Maharashtra already has a skilling program, but we have reviewed it. We think there is need to reorient skilling towards sectoral, baskets. Green construction, mobility, energy, industry, repurposing and decommissioning. These are the 5 areas we thought where skilling program can be reoriented. And lastly, state has money. In fact, District Mineral Foundation in Maharashtra's 3 districts, they have about 1600 crore rupees of unspent DMF. Each district will get in next 10 years, every year 100 to 150 crores. So there is a pool of money with District Mineral Foundation, which can be mobilized to do some of this work, at least in the coal mining district. So this is overall picture. And these are the 2 reports that we are going to release today. And I'll request our guests, special guests, to come and to the podium and release the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll now invite our guests to have their introductory addresses. First, I would like to invite Mr. Jamshed Godrej, Chairman and Managing Director of Godrej and Voice, once again. We all know Jamshed. He has been a distinguished leader, and a very welcome to you, sir, please.
So, Mr. Dorade and Mr. Chandrabhushan and guests, first of all, let me compliment iForest for this very interesting study. I'm glad that you've decided to focus on the states, because that is really, as you rightly mentioned, where all the action has to take place. And state governments, I think, as you rightly mentioned, have the opportunity and the ability to be able to make these transitions. And personally, I think that, the type of report you've come up with is a very interesting report, and I hope that the policymakers and the top politicians and the cabinet in Maharashtra actually have an opportunity to hear it from you, because I think this is the type of transformational report that can spur policy change. Maharashtra has a huge geography. It stretches right from the west coast to almost the middle of the country, which is around Nagpur, and a long coastline. And, it's interesting you mentioned about wind speed, because my hobby is sailing. And for the last 5-10 years, I have seen that the wind patterns have changed significantly. And in fact, somebody needs to do this study, but my gut feel is that the high pollution levels that we've got in the air in Maharashtra, in Bombay specifically, have a lot to do with wind strain. Because all these years in the past, Mumbai had all the polluting opportunities right here, but the wind took it away, essentially. Now, with the change in the wind pattern, this is going to be an even greater problem. The coastline, and I've been very closely involved with marine programs on the West Coast, East Coast, etc. And I think from just talking to fishermen and sailing on the coast, I find that the whole pattern of fisheries, the way it was done earlier and the way it is done now has completely changed. I was quite shocked a few months ago when I did a long trip to the Maldives that the fishermen of our coast, who used to use nets essentially, have changed their whole way of fishing and use modern technology. And I was quite surprised that I could see that large fishing vessels, about 30, 40 miles offshore, were using very high-powered lamps, halogen lamps. And they had a little boat along with them with a generator in it. And the fishermen would, at night, in the evening, they would lower these high-powered halogen lamps in the water for an hour or so and collect a huge number of fish around them, because fish get attracted to light at night. And then they would take a net and go around that boat and just catch all the fish. And this is a totally unsustainable way of fishing. And as a result of which, we see that along the coastline, fishermen, their families are really in stress. And so I think you're connecting, the issue of jobs, income, and green growth to different aspects of life in the state. And I would strongly urge that when we look at Maharashtra, we look carefully at our coastal areas and fisheries and the entire biodiversity hotspot of the Western Ghats. The Western Ghats, is home to many, many species, some very rare, and we are still discovering all types of new species of reptiles, butterflies, etc. And it's very interesting to see that despite all that's happening, we still treat the Maharashtra, the Western Ghats, as a real big biodiversity opportunity, but also a big threat. And I see that, whether it's mining, whether it's industry, whatever it is, it's transport, I think we have to look at the effect that development is happening in these biodiversity hotspots. You talked of the coal industry, and I won't say anything more about it because you talked in great detail on it. But how we move away from coal to renewables and other forms of industrial intervention is going to be crucial for the transition. There's no doubt about it. I talk to and meet all the large companies in the country. I find that if you look at the top 100 companies in India, the top 500 companies in India, they are all working at different levels in this area. So there is a high realization in that area with large companies. But I think our biggest challenge in India is going to be the small and medium-sized companies, which don't have that same resource base, technology base, and finance available in order to make that transition. And I think we have to find ways in which large companies can take the supply chain that works along with them, along this transition. I think it's very essential for this type of partnership between large companies and small companies, medium-sized companies, to work together in a supply chain. The auto industry has a supply chain. The furniture industry has a supply chain. Appliance industry has a supply chain. This entire supply chain has to go along with the larger companies in order to transform. Now, many of you may know that we have in CII the Green Business Center, which is now 25 years old. It's in Hyderabad. It was the first rated green building in the country. And what the CII Green Building and the Green Business Initiative has been is to create standards for green buildings, standards for green companies, standards for green products. And this has become a big opportunity for us to show industry how you can work with very good and ambitious standards which keep improving over time, that we can make that change happen. And so now we have the second largest stock of rated green buildings in the country after the US. And we're well ahead of every other country in the world. Of course, we are a large country, and the opportunity for green buildings is very enormous. But I think what has happened is it's the private sector that has taken this initiative. And I hope that the government sector also takes that initiative. We have tried with PWDs, central and all state PWDs, to actually adopt green buildings as their future. But it's been a challenge. So I hope that we are actually, Maharashtra is able to make that transition and say that every building, whether it's built by the government or the private sector, is a green building. And the reason for that is because buildings, they last 50, 100 years. And if you build in inefficiency in a building, you're going to have to live with it for 50, 100 years. So the answer is to build every single building as a green building and a rated green building so that you can minimize the future emissions from the building sector. Now, I think that if you look at Maharashtra and practically every other state in the country, it's the cities that are the engine of growth. And the advantage of Mumbai is that we not only have a large service base here, but we have a large finance industry in Mumbai. And I think that the combination of a very large service sector, because the country is, a very large service sector already. More than 50% of our GDP is services. And I think if we can bring together this opportunity of finance, as well as a large service sector and a large industrial sector, if we can bring it together to make this transition, I think the cities will show how we can make that transition. So, of course, there are many, many challenges in a city like Mumbai. It's a large city. It has a very diverse population. There are people who work in service industries, in manufacturing industry, they work in transport, etc. And I think that from an equity point of view, which is one of the key aspects of your report, is that if we're going to have this transition, it has to be with equity. And so we have to find equity in housing, we have to find equity in transport, we have to find equity in green jobs and green skilling opportunities. And I think the more that we do that, the better it is. Now, the unfortunate part about Mumbai is that it sort of grew as a north-south axis. We had all the offices in the south, and people stayed in the north, mostly in the western suburbs. And the train in Mumbai was the main public transport system. And we had a big bus system also. But I think that if we do not transition to a very, very good quality of public transport, which is not only good from the point of view of cleanliness, but good from the point of view of its ability to cover the entire city, and it's good from the point of view of safety. I think we know that large cities in the world have a very large workforce, good diverse workforce, and safety becomes a major issue. So my suggestion has always been that yes, it's good that we are, we have this huge train transit system in the cities, which is electric and so is non-polluting to that extent. Of course, the power is not. But at the same time, we have a bus system, which has unfortunately sort of shrunk to some extent. But I think there's a huge opportunity with electric buses and transit to cover the entire city in a way that you can have 24/7 opportunity for transit, and at the same time you can have it being really economical. And frankly, if I could and if I had the opportunity, I would say it should be free. In my opinion, good public transport is a sort of a public good that's worth having. And the cities that have invested heavily in public transport, they are the leading cities of the world. And so I think we have a huge opportunity. I know that especially not only in India, but many other developing countries, personal transport has sort of taken over because we don't have that efficient, safe, and clean public transit system. And yes, the problem is the number of vehicles on the road. Mumbai still has the ability for people to move around rapidly, but you go to a city like Bangalore and you'll probably be sitting in the traffic for 2 hours. So, I think there's a huge opportunity in transit. And the last point that I have is that, and I'm pleased to have Mr. Dorade here with us from the government. But when you look at intervention, it has to be an all of government intervention. It cannot be in one area or the other area. So it's not only about energy. I think the transformation that we need is an all of government transportation in every area where government has an influence and sets policy. And you have to have an approach which is holistic and ambitious. So I think that Maharashtra can certainly take on a challenge of saying that Maharashtra can become net zero by 2050, even though the country has laid a target of 2070. If advanced states like Maharashtra and cities like Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, etc., which are the real drivers of growth, they can transform much faster. And I would like to see Maharashtra government come up with a really ambitious program for the green transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Godrej. The time frame is tighter now. It's 2050. With that, I would like to invite Mr. Praveen Dorade, Principal Secretary, Department of Environment and Climate Change, to have his inaugural address.
Respected dignitaries present on the dais, Mr. Jamshed Godrej, Chairman and Managing Director, Godrej Group, President and CEO, iForest, Mr. Chandrabhushan, Director, Just Transition iForest, Ms. Shrestha Banerjee, my colleagues working with me in Environment Department, Director, Climate Change Cell, Abhijit Ghorpade, Mr. Sudhakar Bobde, and all the distinguished guests present here today for this today's conference on just energy transition in Maharashtra. First of all, I would like to thank and congratulate iForest, its CEO, as well as his team for working on this just transition for Maharashtra and producing such a beautiful report for Maharashtra, which will be helpful in framing the policies and finding a way forward how we can achieve a just transition as well as net zero before 2070. The most important thing is Mr. Chandrabhushan has already given detailed outline what he has said in his report, in his short presentation, and set a tone for today's conference. And today's conference, I am confident that you will come out of certain solutions, policy initiatives, changes which are required as far as energy sector is concerned, repurposing and repowering of mining land, old power plants, green transition of industrial sectors, as well as transition of auto sector, and green jobs and green skilling. All these initiatives has been already taken by government of Maharashtra. As far as Maharashtra is concerned, I would like to tell you that Maharashtra already have a state action plan for climate change 1.0 version, and we have come out with the second version in 2023. And in this state action plan for climate change, we have taken into account all these things, but still we are open and we can incorporate the changes. We can incorporate all these changes in short-term, long-term and medium-term policy changes which are required in our key departments. In this state action plan for climate change, we have identified key departments. The most important departments is energy sector, second is industry, transport, which are maximum polluting, agriculture, animal husbandry, which would help in reducing our carbon emission as well as greenhouse gases. So this is very important as far as Maharashtra is concerned. And he has already pointed out our economic growth. Maharashtra is the highest contributor as far as national GDP is concerned. And we are aspiring to be the first state to become $1 trillion economy. And we are working on these lines. Thanks to Government of India, Niti Aayog is also helping and supporting us, which should be the focused area as far as economic growth is concerned to become a $1 trillion economy in Maharashtra. They're helping us what should be the policy in MMR region and how we can go ahead to achieve this target. Along with economic growth, if we have to achieve this commitment of net zero is a real challenge. On the one hand, you want development, and on the another hand, you want to reduce your emissions, GHGs. So unless and until we switch over from fossil fuel energy to green energy based on renewable energy, which is a challenge for all of us. We are going ahead on a large scale as far as renewable energy is concerned, green energy is concerned. We have come out with the hydrogen policy. Fortunately, let me tell you that a lot of experiments are happening. People are coming out with innovative solutions, and they are coming to start these startups in Maharashtra. One of the innovations they are going to try in Maharashtra is to make a gas, clean energy from the coal. If this experiment, this startup becomes successful, we will be the first state to achieve or make the transition from coal-based energy to the renewable source, which will have a zero emission. In the Just Transition Maharashtra report, they have already highlighted that Maharashtra is, we are contributing highest at the same time in the GDP, we are contributing highest as far as the country is concerned for pollution also. We are retiring a lot of industrial parks, industrial units, mines, so which can be used, or which all these spaces will be available for us for green energy transition. And we need to do that as far as Maharashtra is concerned. There are few points which Mr. Godrej has highlighted during his speech. I would like to say about that. Public transport. Fortunately, Maharashtra is the only state which is focusing on public transport as far as all the Maharashtra big cities are concerned. Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, and the second tier cities including Nasik and Thane also. Maharashtra is the only state in the country, and I would like to say the only state in the world where more than 400-kilometer metro network work is going on. Maharashtra is the only state which is investing heavily on public transportation system improving, which will be environmental friendly. As far as Mumbai and MMR region is concerned, fortunately, I was instrumental and I was in charge during 2014 to 19 in CM office as a secretary, and in MMRD as an additional metropolitan commissioner and project director for this metro. And I got the opportunity to plan for MMR 12 metro lines, as well as Nagpur 2 metro lines and 3 metro lines in Pune. And we are going very aggressively. In Mumbai, 9 metro lines works are going on simultaneously. This is the only city in the world where 9 metro line works is going on simultaneously. And definitely these will have an adverse impact as far as AQI is concerned. But fortunately, we are blessed with the sea. This is a typical winter inversion phenomena. This happens during the 4 months of winter, November, December, January, February. In the month of March, you will not see any AQI problem. As far as Mumbai is concerned, this is not the case with the Delhi. Delhi is unfortunately landlocked. They don't have sea breeze. We are blessed with the sea breeze. We are blessed with the sea. Unfortunately, let me tell you frankly, Government of Maharashtra has issued, Environment Department has issued directions under the Section 5 of Environmental Impact Act. And this has resulted in controlling AQI. I will say, even though the quality of air is not good, but we have never exceeded moderate. We have never crossed 200. Even today also, our AQI in most of the places is less than 100. Only 3 places we are crossing 100 and less than 150. So this is a big achievement as far as our directions are concerned. People are obeying. Let me tell you frankly that there are more than 30,000 works are going on right now in MMR region. Out of these 13,000 works, 6,000 works alone are going on in Mumbai. Because of pandemic, 2 years, all the works were halted. And now everybody has suddenly started work, including the government works. We cannot stop the work of coastal road. We cannot stop the work of metros. Another 2 years and we will have one of the best public transportation system infrastructure as far as Mumbai is concerned, that I can assure you. Right now today, more than 3,000 trucks are coming every day in Mumbai and going, because we are reclaiming sea. We are creating nearly 200 acres of garden space by creating this coastal road. So Mumbaikar will have a good 200 acres of gardens and underground parking of more than 1,000 cars, so that you can park your car, you can come along with your children, family, you can have a fun in this garden, you will have a cycle track, you will have a jogging track. All these facilities will be constructed along with the coastal road. This will not be only a road for the transportation or for the cars. We are going to keep one dedicated bus lane also on this coastal road. This coastal road is not going to end at Worli, and from Worli we have already existing ceiling up to Bandra. From Bandra we are extending this to Warsaw, and we have future plan of from Warsaw to Mira Bhayandar to Vasai Virar to Thane. We are completing this link. This will take time. This will take another 10 years, but another 10 years we'll have a beautiful road infrastructure also. Mumbai is a linear city. We have only two roads, Eastern Expressway and Western Expressway. We don't have any alternatives or ring roads like Delhi. And because of that, no doubt, all the Mumbaikars are facing traffic jam. But fortunately, thanks to our traffic department and MMRDA, they have managed very well. We are using, during the morning hours, peak hours, people come to the South Mumbai. So we are using additional lanes of going towards the north for the people coming to the south. And during the evening hours, people are going from south to the north. We are using the additional lanes so that the flow to the south is less. We have been doing this since last 9 years, and hopefully another 2 years, the wait will be over. Once this 9 metro line networks is completed, you will be able to go anywhere with the one interchange from this place to the Mira Bhayandar. So that smoothly we have planned metro network in Mumbai and MMR region, and one interchange at Thane, and you will be able to go to Bhimandi, Kalyan, Dombivli, and New Bombay. So that smoothly we have planned interchange connections of the metro lines. We have planned metro for existing airport to new Navi Mumbai International Airport also. That will be connecting from the existing international and domestic airport to the Navi Mumbai International Airport also. Maharashtra is going aggressively as far as infrastructure is concerned. All of you are aware, recently Honorable Prime Minister has inaugurated Atal Setu, which was planned in 1973. But because of so many permissions were pending at the Government of India during 2014 to 19, when Devendra Fadnavis sir was CM, he got all the permissions from Government of India, and we started working on it, and it has been completed. Longest sea bridge, 22 kilometer, which has brought Raigad district very close to South Mumbai. So you can reach South Mumbai from Panvel or Payne within 30 minutes. So you need not stay in Mumbai. You can stay in Panvel, you can stay in Payne, and you can be in South Mumbai within 30 minutes. Less the travel time than the suburban. So there will be a shift, and hopefully there will be new Mumbai will be created as far as this Atal Setu is concerned on the other side of the Atal Setu in Raigad district, and there will be a reduction of population pressure as far as Mumbai is concerned. All the experts, those who will be participating in this conference, will come out with certain policy initiatives which will be required to be undertaken by Industries Department, Energy Department, and my department is a nodal department, and I will definitely communicate to them in writing whatever suggestions that comes from this today's workshop and deliberations. I would like to thank once again iForest for organizing this beautiful event in Mumbai, and I wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and giving me chance to interact with you. Thank you.
So we have about 5 minutes of Q&A, and please raise your hands, and we will try to club up questions for our guests before we break for tea. If anyone have any questions, please raise your hand. We'll collect the questions and respond accordingly. Thank you.
Maharashtra State Development Report, which was led by then Chief Minister Mr. Deshmukh. So some of the things which we have planned was 30 years back that time and now 30 years forward. So maybe some of the things, if you dig out that report, it will be certainly there. If not there, I will send you a copy and to you also if you want. So next 30 years, what Maharashtra should do in various sectors. It is Maharashtra State Development Report. Environment is part of it, one chapter. Thank you. Planning Commission and Government of India report.
Yeah, thank you. Planning Commission is already helping us. The name has been changed now from Planning Commission to Niti Aayog. And Subramaniam sir is coming once in a month to Mumbai. He is guiding us how Maharashtra can lead the way for $1 trillion economy. So definitely they might have already incorporated, but we'll also go through it again.
Namaste, my name is Siddharth. I have a question for Mr. Bhushan. So while you mentioned about the policy for just energy transition, do you also have any comments on the financing of just energy for these sectors as well, please? Thank you.
So as I said, that we have just come out with a report in terms of developing a robust methodology on financing. Because you are now talking about financing redevelopment of an economy. So how do you estimate those costs? So we have come out with a methodology. We have piloted it on few districts. We have not done it at the state level. So we did it in 5 major coal districts of India. 1 in Orissa, 1 in Chhattisgarh, 2 in Jharkhand, 4 districts, sorry. 4 districts we have piloted the study. But our hope is that with that methodology, and it's quite a robust methodology, we can pilot it at the state level also to look at what is going to be the total cost. But it is quite clear that there's a lot of money which is available right now which needs to be redirected. So it is not that you would only need new money. You also need, again, quote unquote, repurpose existing money. District Middle Foundation, for example. There's such an overlap between Just Transition agenda and DMF agenda that it's really uncanny what DMF wants to do and what needs to be done in Just Transition. So repurposing of existing resources will play a major role.
Hi, my name is Priyanka Bhide. I'm the co-founder of Kubernetes Initiative. I have a question for Mr. Bhushan. You gave a fantastic presentation on just transitions, and you also mentioned that there are some countries that have already been on this path. So there are 2 parts to this question. One is in comparison to countries that have already been on this path, how far behind are we, and how much longer do you think we can take? And 2, you've of course done this initial study in Maharashtra. What are the other states where you see this opportunity?
So I don't think any country, the history of transition has been very bad across the world. If you look at the coal industry in Germany and Netherlands and the US, the transition has been really done badly. Pennsylvania in US, for example, are ghost towns now because they couldn't do the transition. Ruhr in Germany, now after 50 years, they're trying to revive the economy of Ruhr. Similarly, parts of Netherlands and Belgium that used to be the core of steel and coal industry. So there's actually one of the challenge we had was that there's nothing called as good case study, quote unquote, that you could pick up. And the answer is very simple, that transition has to be very bottom up, and we all will have to do, it is going to be doing by learning. That has to happen. The second thing we found was that the world is very good in constructing new things, very bad in closing old things. Band karna is far more difficult than opening new things. Opening is also politically powerful. अगर आप कुछ कर रहे हैं, then there is an electoral interest in that कि मैंने रोड बनाया, फैक्ट्री बनाया. बंद करने में there is political backlash. So, and that is what the challenge of just transition is. How do you close the old and build the new in a way that it is politically, political economic palatable. So there's no good example, and I don't think we are behind any other country. Okay. Maharashtra is the 3rd state we are working in. We have done for Jharkhand, we have done for Orissa, and Maharashtra is the 3rd state.
Thank you. I am S.K. Rama, myself a coal worker. So we are the worst victim in coal industry. I am based in Nagpur, and we have in three districts we have plenty of mines. And as we have pointed out, lot of mines are getting closed because of many other factors, economic, exhaustion. So, but we know Mr. Parveen Terade, he was our collector in Nagpur, so he knows about the intricacies there around coal industry, and we had a very elderly uh, delivery from Godrej. My only point is that we are talking of just energy transition. I think it has gained momentum after signing of Paris Accord, perhaps in 2015. But we as a one of the important stakeholder representing the workers and the community around the mines, we see very little attention towards just transition. We government is taking action for just energy transition, energy security. They are how to shift over to renewable everything. But this is not percolating down to the lower strata of people around the mines or the industries who are going to be affected. And just transition, because I have a reply from the parliament, member of parliament, just by end of December 23, last parliament session, some member of parliament asked question, and the government replied that, no, we are not working on just transition because that is not so relevant now. So I just wish that you as a high forest, you are doing good job. But where government is directly involved or where there is a campaigning, how to disseminate the information, the seriousness of just transition, energy transition or closure of mine, or achieve zero net carbon zero by 2070 as announced by Honorable Prime Minister. So do you feel that there is a gap to develop some strategy to take into confidence the important stakeholders, including those who are bound to be affected, particularly in coal industry, because that is the main problem.
Ministry of Coal has set up a cell called a Just Transition Cell. Niti Aayog did a report, and Ashok is here. Ashok was a member of that committee on Just Transition, that report that Niti Aayog had done. I think central government is trying to understand what its role is going to be. Coal India has set up Just Transition Cell in all subsidiaries now. WCL, every subsidiary has recently set up a transition cell, Coal India Limited. So I think all the actors are now trying to understand what their role and how it is going to be shaped. I think the work at the state level is far more interesting and advanced than at the central level. Odisha has done, Jharkhand has set up a Just Transition Commission now. That commission has been given 2 years to develop a roadmap. So state level work is far more advanced than central level.
My name is Yash. I would like to ask a question to Darade sir. Sir, you have spoken about the initiatives being taken in the transport sector to resolve the problems being faced by people in MMR, and you have mentioned that the metro lines will make it possible to travel smoothly across the region very easily. So, and you also talked about the coastal road, which will be extended beyond Bandra to Versova, Dahisar, and Mira Road. But why is this coastal road being made if the metro is supposed to solve the traffic issues? And when the fishing communities are opposing the project and there is going to be coastal destruction, then why is this coastal road project being made? If it is, are the metros not going to solve the traffic issue? That is my question.
No doubt metros is going to solve your traffic issues. Right now, we have suburban train systems, central, western, and harbor lines, having 330 trains, having a carrying capacity of 40 lakhs passengers every day. Whereas more than 70 lakhs passengers travels every day in Mumbai. Because of that, we are losing every year more than 3,000 to 3,500 lives of the people. On an average, 10 to 15 people are losing their lives because of overcrowding of these our suburban trains. Government of India and the government of Maharashtra has signed an MOU for converting these suburban trains also into AC trains. And government of Maharashtra is going to bear a 50% of cost of this. Out of 330 trains, we are going to convert 220 trains into AC, so that whether you are traveling by suburban or you are traveling by metro, you will have AC facilities. Those who cannot afford AC trains, there will be 110 trains of suburban trains will be non-AC, will be available for this class also. We are creating with the metro infrastructure network with a 6 minutes of headway, a carrying capacity of 1 crore passengers. We have designed this metro for the next 100 years so that you don't need to create another additional infrastructure facilities. By reducing this headway from 6 minutes, it is possible because of latest state-of-art technology and signaling and driverless trains which are available in metro. You can reduce it to 1.5 minutes. So you can reduce this carrying capacity just by increasing number of metro trains to more than 6 crores per day. So you don't need any new systems. Once this metro network is completed in MMR region, as far as MMR region is concerned, 6 crores passengers will be able to carry every day in and out of Mumbai. The second beauty of this metro train will be that 70% of metro train is elevated. Only 30% is underground, and that underground has been also taken care. There will be no stoppage of metro even during the heaviest rainfall in Mumbai, which is happening right now in suburban trains, which is at grade. Because of that, once there is a heavy rainfall, the metro stops. People cannot go back home from the offices, or they cannot come to office from home. That will not happen. Once this metro network is completed, the whole Mumbai city will never come to an halt. We call these suburban trains as a lifeline of Mumbai. We have given a name to this metro line as a dream line of Mumbai. This is a dream of Mumbai, and this will definitely become a reality and true. We have planned to create even in metro first class, so that those who are traveling with drivers in their car, big cars, we want these people also to shift for the metro. But this will take some time because all these people keep on working in their car also. So unless and until we give them a separate seat, separate place where they can work in the metro also, they will not prefer to travel by metro. And this class will take some time, and that's why we are creating this coastal road also and this loop also, because you need to have an alternative routes. We have more than 3,000 best bus fleet also. There are people, there are stretches. Your metro cannot go at each and every place. People will take a public transportation unless and until he has to travel not more than 500 meters. That's why we have kept metro station every kilometer. That is the reason our metro station has increased so many. In 300 kilometers, we have nearly more than 280 metro stations. So nearly every kilometer we have a station. People will take metro when they have to walk on either side less than 500 meters. That is the beauty. And there are certain areas where we are not able to reach by metro. We are not able to connect. The distance is more than 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, where you need best bus transportation. And because of that, we are creating this coastal road where my buses will go, public transportation will go. Once the metro network is completed, we are going to reserve on all these main routes, north-south corridor, eastern and western expressway, 1 lane for buses. Right now I cannot do it because I don't have an alternative for the people. Unless and until I give a good public transport alternative, I cannot fix these lanes for my public transportation system. So we are creating an additional space for public transportation system. That is the purpose of creating this loop.
So with that, we'll close the first session. Thank you very much.
Yeah.